The 580 Sports Talk Chiefs Instant Reaction post-game show is live. I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. That's Dan Lucero. We are here recapping a Kansas City Chiefs bounce-back win. You knew they weren't going to lose 3 in a row, and certainly not to this bummy Patriots team. 27-17 is the final score. It was not that close in unthinkable drop by Kadarius Toney. Really the only reason that the Patriots even got within 3 scores of this game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this is all you need to know about this Patriots team, Dan. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like LSU Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this game. That is what the Chiefs got out of him today. That's how bad this Patriots team is. They got a bunch of dudes hurt too. They have quit completely. And the Chiefs were the dominant team, even if things weren't completely perfect in this game. Just overall, major number one takeaways from this win for the Chiefs with you and your pal there. She's welcome to chime in too.
Yeah, we'll get Zoe's thoughts here in a little bit if she cares to put on a headset. I got to thank Kadarius Toney because for about 50 minutes, I didn't know how we were going to get through a post-game reaction that was very long today because there just wasn't a whole hell of a lot to say. Like, there was definitely some positives for the Chiefs offense. They looked really good on third down, third and long, probably as good as they've looked all year with Mahomes being able to make some out-of-schedule plays, hit on some deeper passes, and keep drives going on some third downs. I thought that was really encouraging. Clyde Edwards-Helaire continues to show a bit of a rebirth, a bit of a burst that has been welcome from him for sure. Defensively, they made the adjustment they needed to make. They got out of some of the man stuff at the back end on the blitzes, and they started throwing some looks at Bailey Zappi that confused him, that kept him from getting the ball out as quick as he was on some early drives, while still maintaining some of the pressure that they were getting on the early drives that the Patriots were able to turn into points. So there was a lot of good, but sometimes good doesn't make for a great instant reaction show. And then, like manna from the gods, Kadarius Toney dropping a ball directly into the arms of a defensive player. How many times have we seen it? And we see it again, and it turns what was kind of a laugher at that stage into a game the Chiefs actually had to put together a drive to kind of see out, and burn about 4 minutes off the clock on their next offensive drive when they went down 27-17. And then we get Mahomes' reaction to paraphrase, he just bleeping can't. And that's kind of where he's at right now. That's kind of where I think a lot of Chiefs fans are out right now when it comes to this wide receiver group, Toney in particular. I have said it, and I will continue to say it. They need Kadarius Toney. He's got a unique skill set. He's greatly open field. He is as talented as any of the guys in that receiver room. They need him. The problem is they can't count on him, and they saw it again today. You just cannot count on this guy to be there to deliver. That's a simple pitch and catch over the middle. He ran a great route to get himself open and free against the linebacker. That should be easy cash money for the Chiefs every single time. Kadarius Toney, a little whip slant against the linebacker. That is a first down anytime they want to run that play, unless Kadarius Toney doesn't catch the ball and volleyball sets it into the hands of the help defender. And that's where we're at, and that's what we're talking about. Again, after a comfortable Chiefs win, we are once again talking about a wide receiver group where Toney drops the ball into an interception. Blake Bell, tight end 3. Why the hell are you even throwing him the ball? He fails to come back to a ball and costs Mahomes interception, costs the Chiefs 3 points on that particular possession where you have the first turnover of the game. We have Sky Moore fumbling a ball, bailed out by one of the softer holding fouls you're going to see this season. You have Rashee Rice fumbling again. Dude, tuck it in, man. Tuck the ball to your body. It's the one thing that's missing because he was excellent. Again, he was reliable on third down. He continues to show he's the best thing that Chiefs passing offense has. And even he almost tricked off a Chiefs possession. It was the Chiefs playing all the hits, penalties, drops, turnovers, and still winning because this Patriots team just was never going to do enough offensively against a Chiefs defense that played fast, played aggressively, got home with their pressure, and created some turnovers.
Yeah, man, New England's hot trash. I mean, that's really the only analysis you need of this team. And you do feel a little bit bad because they've lost so many key players. We talked about it on Sports Talk during the week. Losing Christian Gonzalez, obviously a big deal for their defense. Losing Matthew Judon, an even bigger deal for the defense. I understand those things, and that's fair. They lose Cole Anthony in this game. Or Cole Strange, excuse me, not Cole Anthony. He plays for the Orlando Magic. But they lose him in this game. That's obviously tough as well. But dude, they're just miserable. They're awful. I'm looking at the advanced box score right here from RBSDM. That's Ben Baldwin. Is he still at The Athletic? Either way, his website with the advanced box scores. Bailey Zappi has his total EPA per play for the day negative 0.42. Like, I mean, that's essentially what you expect from a guy like Bailey Zappi. I mean, he is what he is. He's not very good. Better than Mac Jones. Mac Jones is horrific, but that's what this Patriots team is. None of that is a surprise. This Chiefs team, though, look at Mahomes' numbers, for example. You look at the basic counting stats. We've got them rolling on the bottom of the screen right now. They're fine. I'm not super mad about either of the interceptions. The one was completely Tony's fault. The other one, if you want to throw some blame at Mahomes for saying, why in the world are you even throwing the ball in this moment to that tight end? I have no problem with that complaint in particular. Blake Bell's barely seen the field for the majority of this season since he got banged up earlier on. But Mahomes' advanced numbers don't come out of this looking all that special either. He completed a lot of passes when he wasn't, expected completion was pretty high. His EPA per play, not great. Average depth of target, they weren't throwing the ball down the field again. You still don't have that burst from this offense right now. And let's be frank, and I don't mean to be too negative. I don't mean to poo-poo this game after a win. A double-digit win, that's important coming off of a couple straight losses. Important thing for this team. I get and respect that. With this same level of performance from the offense, are you beating Baltimore? Are you beating Miami? Are you beating Jacksonville if Jacksonville is playing to its full capability? Are you winning those games? I don't know, and it's hard to say because there's a lot of variables, and I understand I'm asking you a difficult question. It's more rhetorical than anything, but the point being, was this a matter of just the Chiefs played really well and won, or did the Chiefs win because they were playing the Patriots?
There were times it felt like a return to form for the Chiefs. In particular, I want to go back to the point I was making about third downs. They were much better on those third and longs today. Mahomes being able to make some plays off of schedule and find some receivers who were finding the gaps in the defense. There was a big one by Rashee Rice on their first scoring drive. MVS had a play like that about the first time all year. MVS has found a hole in his own and been a third down outlet for Mahomes. That was big. Rice got open for some tough third down routes. He had a good third down catch along the sideline late in the game that helped sustain a drive. That was welcome. That was good to see. There was a deep shot to Justin Watson that converted another play. They got to be better on third down, and today I think was a welcome step in that direction. But I think ultimately we're saying the same thing about this game that we've said about after just about every Chiefs game this season. When they weren't shooting themselves in the foot, they moved the ball pretty good. Yep. I think Mahomes' advanced numbers don't do him justice. I thought he was mostly sharp, climbing the pocket, maneuvering through the pocket, picking up some big third downs, keeping drives extended that way. But when you throw two picks, then the numbers aren't going to be very kind to you because the numbers can't see what those interceptions were. A tight end 3 getting big boyed by a linebacker, and Kadarius Toney volleyball setting an interception into somebody's hands. Like, that's just, these are the kinds of mistakes the Chiefs are making. Even on their first drive of the game, that's points if they don't call an offensive pass interference on the Chiefs. Now, was it a bit of a dubious call? Yes, it was. Maybe not a great call, but once again, it's an offensive penalty that costs you points. It costs you. They had first and goal from the 5. You like their chances to score 7 there. Instead, they don't even get 3 because Butker misses his first kick of the entire season. It's his first missed kick. We'll give Butker a pass on that, but especially because they won. But it's the same things. We keep seeing the same things. When they don't turn it over, they move it great. They look like a finely oiled machine. They're running the ball really well. They're run blocking well. They schemed some good looking stuff today. I thought the screen pass to Edwards-Helaire that set up the first touchdown of the game for the Chiefs was really, really well schemed up. The Andy Reid screen game coming back in full effect in a way that I like to see. So back. But again, and this is the other factor of this. This is a good defense. Like, the Patriots came in, they're good defense. They were playing great. They were playing at a high level the last couple of weeks. The Chiefs had really not many problems with them. The problems they did have were Christian Barmore creating problems because he's a great player, and he got the better, I think, of his matchup with Trey Smith at times today. Wanye Morris gave up a couple of pressures where your backup left tackle had his hands full. There was a third down sack he gave up. There was one tackle for loss that was his fault. He got beat on a spin move. But by and large, this kind of performance against a quality defense without the turnovers is going to get you a long way in January. We keep waiting for him to cut out the mistakes, and they keep not doing it. Sometimes you just can't get right. Sometimes you have a guy who just, for whatever reason, cannot get right. And the Chiefs have too many can't get right guys in their receiving core. And Mahomes, you can see, is just at his wit's end with these guys.
And Can you blame him? I thought our friend of the program on 580 Sports Talk, Seth Kaiser from the Chief of the North newsletter, from the Only Weird Games podcast, I thought he had a couple interesting things he pointed out on Twitter today. One of them was look at other great quarterbacks and the way they have reacted to the receivers messing up. Sometimes it's their wife who tweets about it, but most of the time, like Tom Brady getting in guys' faces. Peyton Manning was never scared to get in a dude's face and let him know that he had screwed something up. Aaron Rodgers has done that many, many times. All great quarterbacks do that. And Patrick Mahomes has generally not. But at some point, when you've now gone through 15 weeks and 14 games and the same mistakes, mental, physical, whatever, continue to pop up, yeah, frustration at some point is going to end up boiling over. And it's tough when you look at a guy like Rashee Rice in particular for this example, who had a great game, very similar to last week. This week, it's 9 catches, 91 yards, had a touchdown. Last week, I believe it was 7 for 72 and a touchdown. He's putting up good numbers. He's making plays. He's your most reliable, specifically designated wide receiver at this point. But he still makes a mistake, and it's still a difficult mistake to stomach. And in this game, it didn't make a big deal because the Patriots are terrible. But in a game that is of more importance, like, say, last week, that becomes much more magnified. That becomes a much bigger problem, and it's of much bigger concern for this Chiefs team. The other thing that Seth pointed out, and this is interesting, I don't know if this was mentioned on the broadcast where he pulled this quote from, but the Chiefs are last in the NFL at converting contested catches. And I think Blake Bell, as an example of that, I don't really expect him to win a ton of contested catches. I also don't really expect him to ever be on the field at this point in his career with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that is what it is, but there's just not the same level of dynamic playmaking from this team. And again, I feel bad being this negative about it because the Chiefs did win by double figures on the road, had to get a win, stay in the hunt for the number 1 seed. Those are all good things, but there's not really a whole lot to break down about that. What there is to break down is you're not winning contested catches, that you don't have that same kind of explosion from the offense that we're used to seeing, that you cannot rely on Kadarius Toney, who, as you have pointed out, and I agree with the thought, in terms of who has the most, like the highest ceiling as a playmaker in space with the ball in their hands, it's 19. It's Kadarius Toney. I absolutely agree with that. But you got to make plays. You can say, get the ball in his hands. Well, if he's not able to catch the ball or at least knock it down, I don't know why he is so just has this innate ability to knock the ball up into the air to get intercepted. We all remember week 1 against the Lions. Like, you got to be able to make the plays. And the fact that they don't so reliably is the biggest concern for this team going forward. If it was just a cold streak in that regard, Dan, it'd be one thing. Like, man, these last 3 weeks, things have been such a mess. It's been 14 games at this point, and it hasn't changed. And I feel like I'm usually in the camp that I'm willing to give some extra time. I'm willing to say we need a half a season. We need a full season to see exactly what a team is, what they're going to be going into the playoffs. Well, we've got 14 weeks, and these wide receivers are not reliable. And even the best one is prone to making mistakes, but at least he gets a little bit of a grade on a curve because he's a rookie. He hasn't played as much NFL football as Toney, as MVS, even as Sky Moore. And God, he is just so bad right now. I mean, he's of all these dudes you could argue are unplayable, he is truly unplayable. And it's frustrating because, again, it comes back to the question I asked you at the top. Was this more the Chiefs won because they played a great game, or is this more the Chiefs won because they played a terrible team? And, I mean, based on the conversation we're having here about the pass catchers, it kind of feels like the latter.
Well, I didn't play a bad game. I don't think you can look at this and say that was a...
Real quick, I'm sorry to cut you off, Dan, but we shouldn't give credit to the defense because the defense played really well. I thought they were flying all over. Willie Gay made a nice play. They were getting in the backfield. Once Cole Strange was out, they couldn't do anything with Chris Jones. They deserve a lot of credit. I think that's why I'm not even focusing on them because they did their job. They played really well in this game.
Even early on when New England did move the ball, they had the missed field goal drive, and then they had the touchdown drive off a short field off a bad Tommy Townsend punt. And speaking of guys having off years, I don't think Tommy Townsend's going to be your first team All-Pro punter this year. I don't know what is going on there, if maybe there's an injury, but he hasn't been to previous standards either. You don't normally talk about that because who talks about the punter? That's not fun. But yeah, not been a great year for Townsend, and they gave him the short field, and they turned that into the touchdown on the 4th and 1. But even on those drives, like, the Chiefs were like this close to having 3 batted passes, including the touchdown on the 4th and 1. Like, they were in position and just missing the play And then as the game went on, like, you keep putting yourself in position to make a play, eventually you're going to make one. And the Chiefs defense made them over and over in the second half, and they kept them mostly out of harm's way for the rest of the game. They scored on that short field after the Tony interception. Whatever. It was a 3-score game at the time. Who cares? I'm not gonna hold that too harshly against that defense that probably mentally had turned off a little bit at that point with a 17-point lead, 8 minutes left. When they were engaged and needed to play and it mattered, they were excellent, and they were in the right place, and they did fly around, and they did get pressure. Drew Tranquil being back, and this was a good game for him, I thought. Good game for him to play in, like a good matchup for him. I thought he played really well. You mentioned Jones. He was terrific. I thought that the defense deserves some credit and played well. And it's not a great offense they played against, but this is what you're supposed to do to bad offenses. You're supposed to flatten them like this and keep them from really doing much of anything unless they get a short field. And that's what the Chiefs did. So they deserve credit on that end. But again, we look back at the offense, and that's the big question moving forward. And it continues to be the question coming out of this game. Can they clean things up? Because against a defense that had been playing really good football over the last month, the Chiefs had no problem doing the things they wanted to do for the most part until they did the things they're not supposed to do. Drop passes, turnovers, fumbles. I mean, golly, that field goal drive to start the third quarter, they fumbled it twice and recovered one, which, I mean, luck says you'll recover a few of your own fumbles. And then Sky Moore, just a parody of himself at this point. I don't understand how he ever sees the field under any set of circumstances at this point. I don't understand it. He was very, very lucky there was a penalty on that play. There was good, but the bad threatens to overshadow the good. And against better competition, the bad has overshadowed the good. That's why you're concerned moving forward for the Chiefs. Like, okay, you could overcome 2 turnovers and 2 short fields where you just gift the Patriots 10 points. That's 10 free points the Chiefs gave the Patriots in this game. It didn't matter because you scored 27 because they gave you 7 freebies off of the Gay interception and because they stink and they couldn't drive the ball and do much of anything else. And your defense played well enough to make sure that wasn't going to happen. You can do that against the 3-11 Patriots. Can you do it against Baltimore? Can you do it against Miami? That's the question. Because this team is not one, we don't measure their performance against Patriots. In January, with the pedigree that this team has, you measure their performance against the best of the AFC. And that is a question that frankly, we're not going to know the answer to until January rolls around. But you have to take the positives too. It's a win. It was, in the end, a pretty comfortable one. You covered an 8.5-point spread. Apologies if you bet an alternative spread and that didn't get home. If you know anybody, you or your loved ones went through that today, apologies to them. But you get the win. Your lead's back up to 2, functionally 2.5 in the AFC West, with Denver getting punked on Saturday night. So you're that much closer to capturing the division title, making sure you get that first round home game. Those are all good things. And there wouldn't have been much to say if Kadarius Toney doesn't do what he does. And we're back to singing the same old song about this Chiefs offense. It just does not know who it can trust.
We will break this game down in full. So many other details to get to, and a whole weekend of sports we'll get to on 580 Sports Talk on Monday. Recap of this game will go around the NFL with Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Plenty of college hoops to get to. KU comes from behind to knock off Indiana. K-State, in fact, is in action right now against Nebraska. We'll get to it all Monday on 580 Sports Talk from 2 to 6 on 580 WIBW and on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. But until then, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. The Kansas City Chiefs back in the win column, now 9-5 on the year after beating the New England Patriots 27-17 in NFL Week 15. We will talk to you coming up Monday